my garden of memories, gathering the flowers from the past, listening to the sounds of yesterday, knowing that nothing ever lasts. Sunflowers shining brightly in the sun, she was the one that I had known, but when she left what we had begun, I looked and my garden had grown. Sunshine, memories in the rain, woke into dreams we bring. Yesterday from sunshine and rain. Does your garden grow? Do you mind it every day? Or will I die when the north winds blow, wondering where the children play? Sunflowers shining brightly in the sun, she was the one that I had known, but when she left what we had begun, I looked and my garden had grown. Sunshine, memories in the rain, woke into dreams we bring. Yesterday from sunshine and rain. Yesterday from sunshine and rain.
Another lonesome morning. You thought you didn't care, but morning breezes find you, wishing she were there. A Bob White sang his same old song, trying hard to please, and you the sound that she used to love through the rustling.
And what Granddaddy moved from here up to Dublin to Back Creek when he got the job, probably.
Yeah.
Well, did you move with him? When he moved to did the family move too, or did y'all stay here?
She said something about that earlier that Dee Dee was asking. Said that the family, Granddaddy and his family lived in the big mansion when Dr. Miller or Professor Miller was teaching.
It was joined to it. It's connected with it, and we had used part of that house, the lower part of it. Great big rooms, and a great big kitchen in there, and storage area, and basement, and then 5 rooms attached for bedrooms and so forth for our family.
And then when he came back from teaching, then you moved out into another house about that. I think I heard you say this earlier. It's a question, I guess.
When he came home from up at Emory and Henry, he was there for about 3 months. That we lived up in a 5-room cottage, just a little distance from this house. And that's where my mother died, in that place. And know that morning George was a little 7-month-old baby and she died. Bless his heart, he had a hard life. All kinds of bad luck
Well, everybody did
happened to him.
after she was announced.
But when she died, I screamed and ran down to that house to the telephone and to call Luther and actually Bob and Edward, I think, were down to neighbor's house helping them with cutting corn.
Oh.
Told them what happened. After a while here, they came running and crying.
Well, how many years did you live there?
Hmm.
Do you remember how many years you lived there before she?
No, I don't know. I know Bob came in and he went out in the backyard and stood there where they're holding on to a limb of the tree and just crying. He said Mother wouldn't get to see him wear his first long pants. Boys all wore knickers until they were about 16. And he had his first long pants that he wore to her funeral. It was a terrible time.
Was,
That night, after we had the funeral up here, had to come up here. Dad sat in there rather than and just talk like he's talking to her, you know, and cried. And the dog at the door howled. That dog knew it as well as we did what had happened. He just howled and howled at me.
She was saying before you turned the camera on how she, I was asking her about a grandmother, about how, what a good seamstress she seemed to be from the pictures of the clothes that she made. And Aunt Thelma was saying that she tried to pick up where she left off. You were making clothes for the little ones.
well,
When we moved up here, you know, to be close to some of Mother's family, and I know Dad had George, a little baby in his arms. He came up here and stood at the front to have him baptized.
right here in this church? Well, were they born down there in Pulaski County in Dublin?
It was a good time, but a sad time.
Aunt Thelma, were they born down in the Miller place? Was Uncle Luther and Oscar?
Yeah, they were smaller. Didn't realize.
Well, of course,
I know little old Oscar got a few days after we went back after the funeral. They were working out at the shop next to the barn, cutting some kind of feed or something, I think. And little old Oscar was just, he walked over there to see what they were doing and put his hands up there where his fingers got cut so bad. And there we were, way out in the country there. I don't know, I had to get a horse and buggy in all the way into town to get a doctor to, I think, take some stitches. And it was a terrible thing to happen to that child. And he got back home and
How
he
did it
was
happen?
suffering, so he said, I want to sit on Mother's lap. He was trying to sit on Mother's lap, Mudley's lap.
Mudley.
How did he hurt himself?
Yeah.
He was out there where they were chopping wood.
Yeah. No, I had to go, you know, learn to do things that she always did. I don't know how we ever got close and they got everybody dressed, you know, to go to the funeral or anything.
Aunt Ruth told me a story about picking at you one time in some house you lived in, and you were teenagers, and she was picking at you with this, you know how you take a comb and a piece of paper and you can make music blowing into it? And you were trying to come down the stairs. Am I telling it right? I mean, this is what I remember her telling me. You were trying to come down the stairs.
Oh, about that.
Down the kitchen, she had me laughing.
I would go inside the door and she couldn't see me, and I was singing somehow through the paper and the comb. It did.
But she said
It's
she
really
would,
funny to
she was
say.
picking at you until she got you mad and then got you in trouble. You got in trouble and she was over there giggling or something. And Granddaddy came in and he was fussing at you or fussing at one of her. I don't know what happened. Some kind of commotion came and I said, well, what was Grandmother doing? So she was just rocking in her rocking chair, sewing and laughing at you. Y'all were getting in trouble by Granddaddy, and
Yeah.
she was just smiling and laughing at the whole thing. She said she was,
Dad played banjo so well.
he
He
did.
played banjo. Some of us would dance. Ruth would dance. And I think it was maybe Luther, a little fella. He was beginning to walk a little bit, but it crawled a good bit, and we'd be dancing, and he'd down on his hands and feet with one foot stuck out there, keeping time with us. You know, he was trying to dance, but he couldn't stand up and dance. But Dad played the banjo and played Ruth. Some of them would dance.
How often would he get his banjo out and get it out?
Dad did the purchase
Aunt Thelma,
soft shoe dance.
tell them about the day of the funeral that for the little baby that died. Remember
Oh yeah.
that somebody had made a real beautiful Mrs. King, right?
Oh, I can't think of her name right now. It was with the green hedge, you know, made a beautiful wreath and little bows of white ribbon all over it. It looked like a beautiful wreath from the florist. Yeah.
And she was so pleased that the baby would have.
And Mother was so pleased to know all about it. She just wasn't able to go that time.
What was
But
it?
that was a time there was some kind of an epidemic that came through. Aunt Addie had a little, I think 7-month-old girl that died a few days later. And they said that the undertaker said they couldn't get baby caskets fast enough.
For it.
Everybody that had a small baby died. It was sort of like the flu epidemic.
Now what did our grandmother, what was she sick from? From having the baby, right?
I just don't remember.
So the baby was what, 12 days? How many days?
12 days old.
12 days old.
I
So
remember,
she wasn't strong enough to make that trip. Is what you told
remember
me.
Uncle Edgar came down there when we lived at Dublin, and the baby was so sick that night, and Mother cried, and so glad to see him that he came to see her, and that little thing had pneumonia, and he died the very next day.
Was he a pretty baby?
Yeah, 9-pound baby. He was a handsome little fellow. I think she put it down in the Bible, something about a darling baby boy.
A darling baby
And
boy.
that, and he was born between Luther and Oscar, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Oh, I see. Between Elizabeth and my daddy, Luther. I believe that's the way it was. Yeah, I know. I've already looked at it this morning, yeah. But,
Well, one more question for Aunt Thelma. Aunt Thelma, tell us about the beautiful clothes that your mother made you. Remember that you were telling me this morning about the beautiful...
yes, that these came and stole away from us. She'd made me such a pretty pink crepe de chine blouse and tiny little tucks down the front, something like this, and a little teeny feather stitched down next to it, and some little embroidery all the way down, up and down that thing, and the long sleeves and everything.
But
It was such a pretty thing. I was so proud of it, and a white skirt to wear with it. And so while we were going to the funerals, people came in to offer to help clean up and straighten up things after we left. Us. Stole that and the nightgowns she wore and everything. I don't know what all they did take from the house. Dad and everybody was so upset we didn't get a warrant to go up there and search their house. They lived
Why did they
about
take
a
the
mile
clothes?
up next to the
because they were so
mountain.
pretty. They had come in to clean up while they were up here in Whitfield at the funeral.
Well,
That was being a good neighbor.
The neighbors.
who lived right up the road here that was Aunt Lizzie or I just don't remember, but Daddy used to come up.
But Mother gets so pretty. She was made such pretty clothes for all the children and everything they had. And on all those pictures that Mary had with dresses and things that Mother had made. And the little boys' clothes.
I noticed your stockings in that youngest picture.
Sometimes I'd help her cut out things, and when I was about 7 years old, I learned to, she showed me how to use the treadle sewing machine and take the stitches, seams up, down straight seams. I'd help make things sometimes.
Well, you know, after they went back to Back Creek, then Granddaddy moved them all up here to Uncle George's farm. Uncle George's farm. You all came up here to live.
Yeah.
After Grandmother Felty died, or our grandmother died,
Yeah.
right? And you were telling me that your grandmother Repass, Gussie,
Yeah.
came and stayed with you all and took care of the children.
Yeah, she said nothing but death would take her away from that baby, and that's what happened. She stayed with us and helped take care of that baby.
Uncle George.
My
And so-
youngest brother.
Gussie.
That's why Daddy always felt so close to Gussie. I've never figured that out.
She took care of it.
Well,
But
and
how soon
I had that picture taken in front of the house down there with Grandma, with that baby in her arms, and I gave it to Kathleen. She has it.
Kathleen,
Kathleen has the picture of our grandmother
George's
Gussie
Kathleen.
with
Our Aunt Kathleen.
right.
That would
Yeah.
be wonderful to see, wouldn't
Right.
it?
Well, Aunt Thelma, anything else you want to tell us?
No, I don't guess so.
Well, the one thing that I've told Beverly,
Yeah, well, I told you that this is where Dad had been after she passed away. We moved up here to be close to Grandma Felty and Aunt Maud and all that helped us out so much. And she and Dad had came up here and had the baby baptized. You know, no one standing with him. It was pretty sad.
Ask her if Aunt Maud went and nursed George.
You know, I was
she
wondering-
did.
Oh, she did?
well, no, she was telling me, Aunt Thelma, what did the doctor tell Aunt Maud to put in the bottle? Rice, milk?
Yeah, cook some rice, yes, and add a little the water off the rice in his milk in the bottle. Put it and got him on a bottle.
Got him on a bottle that
I
way.
don't see how the little fellow lasted long enough to get something to eat. Traveling so far out in the country down there and to the train and then to Whitfield and way out in the country.
Well, and tell us about the day of the funeral, Aunt Thelma. You said that Granddaddy would look at his watch and pace back and
Yeah,
forth.
he did. He walked the floor back watching his hand. How many more hours and how many more minutes till we had to take her out. Then that night, we got home. he sat out there and cried and talked to that bed, the empty bed. He was talking to her.
Well, now, did they, when they came up here, you moved back up here, they went to the Huddle School. Did you go to the Huddle School as well?
No, she was through.
You were through school by then?
The Huddle School was up at St. Paul's, wasn't it? The Huddle School was up at St. Paul's, up in Rural Retreat. That was the second place they went.
Oh,
We moved to St. Paul after we lived out here at the Repass farm. They had managed that farm out there for a good long while. George Repass, it was, what was the name of that? It was a pretty home we lived in, a real pretty home.
You want us to check with you to see if you would feel like riding back to Back Creek?
Yeah.
You think you might want to do that this afternoon if you get a little rest?
Yeah, I'd like to go out and
See that train coming round the bend, carrying the one that I love. Her beautiful body is still here on earth, but her soul has been called up above. Body and soul, body and soul.
Another lonesome morning, another lonesome day. You'll have to live without her, the morning seemed to say. Another lonesome morning, you thought you didn't care, but morning breezes find you, wishing she were there. Bob White sang his same old song, trying hard to please, and you hear the sound that she used to love through the rustling of the leaves, through the rustling of the leaves. Your losing her has taught you that you wanted her to stay, and you know all another lonesome morning brings is another lonesome day, is another lonesome day.
Walking through my garden of memories, gathering the flowers from the past, listening to the sounds of yesterday, knowing that nothing ever lasts. Sunflowers shining brightly in the sun, she was the one that I had known, but when she left what we had begun, I looked at my garden to grow. gathering the flowers from the past, listening to the sounds of yesterday, knowing that nothing ever lasts. Sunflowers shining brightly in the sun. She was the one that I had known, but when she left what we had begun, I looked and my garden had grown. Sunshine, memories in the rain, woke into dreams we bring. Yesterday from sunshine and rain. Does your garden grow? Do you mind it every day? Or will I die when the north winds blow, wondering where the children play? Sunflowers shining brightly in the sun. She was the one that I had known, but when she left what we had begun, I looked and my garden had grown. Sunshine, memories in the rain, woke into dreams we bring. Yesterday from sunshine and rain. Yesterday from sunshine and rain.